Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 5th Eastchester Union Free School District Board of Education meeting. Our sincerest apologies this evening for running a few minutes behind from another meeting that we had. Before we get into tonight's agenda, I'm going to turn it over to Elias to give us the student update.
Thank you. So for the student update, I'd like to start in Greenville, where Greenville is proud to share that third graders Jin Naragon, Yudu Fukaya, and Francis Musso from Mrs. Tolomeo and Mrs. Ingram's class won first in the math regional tournament. This is an outstanding accomplishment, and the students have qualified for the state championship in Albany on June 13th. The school wishes them the very best of luck and cannot be more proud of their hard work, perseverance, and teamwork. This week, Greenville is also celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week. The school's teachers embody an extraordinary level of dedication, care, and professionalism each and every day. They go above and beyond to create meaningful learning experiences, support the academic and social emotional growth of every child, and foster classrooms where students feel valued, inspired, and confident. Their commitment does not go unnoticed, and the school is deeply grateful for the passion and heart they bring to the community. As Greenville looks ahead, May and June promise to be filled with memorable experiences, from class trips and field day to picnics and end-of-year celebrations. There's so much for students to look forward to. For Ann Hutch is excited to share that fifth grader Natalie Layton has been selected as the winner of this year's Ann Hutch yearbook cover contest. Congratulations to Natalie on her beautiful work. This week, the school is celebrating its amazing teachers with a variety of special events generously donated by the PTA, including a catered lunch and a coffee cart. The school is deeply grateful for their continued support. New York State math testing for 4th and 5th grade went smoothly, and 3rd grade testing began this week. In addition, the book fair is underway this week, and 2nd graders are looking forward to attending a performance at Arts on Stage to see the musical A Year by Frog and Toad. As the school heads into the final months of the year, many exciting events are planned, including the spring concerts and art show on May 13th and 14th. For the Waverly update, Waverly shared that April was filled with meaningful learning experiences for both students and staff. Teachers engaged in their second year of intervisitations focused on strengthening high-quality small group instruction, providing opportunities to collaborate, reflect, and continue growing their instructional practices to support all learners. Students also had the opportunity to get their hands dirty in the best way possible by helping to plant a school herb garden. With thyme, rosemary, lavender, cilantro, and oregano now growing, members of the community are invited to stop by Waverly and pick up some fresh herbs for their next dish. In celebration of Earth Day, Waverly welcomed Lou Del Bianco back for another engaging assembly. Students learned what it means to be earth protectors by recycling, reusing, and showing care for their environment. It was a powerful and engaging experience that reinforced the importance of sustainability and responsibility. Looking ahead, Waverly on Broadway is thrilled to present 101 Dalmatians. The show will take place on May 13th at 7 p.m. at the Eastchester High School auditorium. The school hopes the community enjoys the special sneak peek from its talented cast this evening. For the middle school, EMS is proud to share that the work made possible through its school-wide counselor position, currently held by Ms. Williams, has received an honorable mention from the New York State Office of Mental Health as part of the What's Great in Our State Children's Mental Health Awareness Day initiative. This recognition highlights individuals, schools, and organizations across New York State that are making a meaningful impact in supporting the mental health and well-being of children and families. Ms. Williams' work was acknowledged in the official program at the statewide celebration on May 5th. The school is grateful for her continued dedication to its students and school community and is proud to see her efforts recognized at the state level. EMS is also excited to share that its 8th grade students will be departing for a 3-day trip at Washington, D.C. tomorrow morning. The school looks forward to sharing highlights from their experience at the next Board of Education meeting. For the high school, testing is underway with AP exams taking place over the next 2 weeks. The school wishes all students the best of luck on their exams. This week, EHS is excited to showcase its musicians with an instrumental concert taking place tonight and the choir performing on Thursday evening. The school encourages the community to attend these outstanding performances. Eastchester Relay for Life will take place this Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. at Concordia University. Relay for Life is more than a walk. It is an opportunity for a community to come together to celebrate cancer survivors, remember loved ones, and unite in the fight against cancer. The event will feature performances from EHS ensembles as well as local student bands. There will also be activities for all ages, including cornhole, can jam, trivia, arts and crafts, and a food truck from the Taco Project. On Thursday, April 28th, the EHS Guidance Department hosted College Night, which featured a panel of college admissions officers from Lafayette College, Boston University, University of Alabama, SUNY Binghamton, Barnard College, and Sacred Heart University. The panel addressed common questions related to college search and application process. It was an extremely well-attended event with over 200 community members in attendance. Now for my 2 for 2, where I highlight 2 students and 2 upcoming events. For the students, senior Eva Musenchenko was named this month's recipient of the Con Ed Scholar Athlete Award. The Con Edison Scholar Athlete Award is a prestigious, long-running, over 30 years in Westchester County and the Lower Hudson Valley, New York, honoring high school seniors who excel in sports, academics, and community service. Weekly winners are recognized throughout the school year, culminating in top scholarship recipients and an end-of-year celebration. Eva has excelled as a runner and is also an accomplished student and an active participant in our community. Nice job, Eva. During the weekend of April 25th, Luke McDowell, a 10th grader who is also an athlete on our school's unified sports team, participated and medaled in the Hudson Valley Special Olympics Regional Games. Luke swam the 25 freestyle, the 25 backstroke, the 25 freestyle relay. He placed in all events, winning 2 bronze medals, 1 silver, and 1 gold. This recognition is a terrific testament to Luke's involvement and hard work, and we are so proud of him for embodying the spirit of an eagle, especially beyond our school walls. Congratulations, Luke. For our 2 upcoming events, we are looking forward to the unified basketball team's homecoming game on Wednesday, May 13th. The team is off to a great start this season, and we hope to pack the stands to support these amazing students. For EGO, we actually have a few upcoming important events where May 13th will be our annual elections for next year's officers, and on May 29th, we'll host our annual football tournament on the high school turf field. As always, we encourage all students to be involved with EGO. And that's my report. Thank you.
Elias, thank you so much, as always, for that very comprehensive report. It never ceases to amaze me how much information you can convey in about 15 minutes or less. So thank you very much for that. And just before we jump into the agenda last night, I do want to thank our high school debate club and advisors for a wonderful experience last night for Meet the Candidates. For those of you that have not tuned in and watched that, I would say to you, please make sure to go on to the YouTube channel and watch that. I think it was an excellent experience, and turning that into an educational experience through the administration here, I think has done wonders for the students and also to educate the community. So please, if you haven't had time to, make sure you go on and actually watch that event last night. Job very, very well done, so thank you all for that. As everyone here knows, this is one of the busiest times of year here as we start to prepare and plan for the upcoming year. And around this time every single year, the comments and messages on Facebook start to fly. And what I would say to everyone here in the community is, this is the most transparent administration and board that I've experienced since I've been on the board here for the past 5 years. Facebook is definitely not the beacon of factual information, and I think everyone here can see that. If you have a question or a concern, please reach out to the superintendent, reach out to the Board of Education, and we will actually provide you with the factually correct information. There have been some things the past week or so that have been posted and commented on Facebook that are so next level and out of the realm of reality that it's astonishing to me, specifically with things like numbers and math, not words. And I think for all the educators here in the room, math is something that's not a feeling, that is a fact. So again, please reach out to the superintendent, reach out to the Board of Ed, and we would be happy to provide you with actual data and factual information. Again, can't stress it enough. Facebook should not be the beacon of factual information in terms of budgets and actually what's going on. So with that, I would like to just kind of turn it over to some of my fellow trustees to see if there's any comments. Jackie, is there anything you wanted to share tonight?
Just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the Meet the Candidates last night. It was a great event. I thought, as Matt said, the high school and middle school debate clubs did a great job moderating, and it was wonderful to see that civic engagement from our students. The questions brought about a lot of thoughtful discussion from all the candidates. In their words, such as prioritizing AIS support, being thoughtful about class sizes, advancing and optimizing technology, athletics, music, the arts, all of which are supported in this budget. Professional development and supporting our teachers, investing in our students and supporting all learners. One candidate even brought up phonics, which has been implemented by this board with the addition of Heggerty phonemic awareness and foundations. So it was great to see that the discussion really emphasized all the progress we've done to advance the school district and how we don't want to move backwards by going back to how things were before. So well done, everyone, for the thoughtful discussion.
Thank you, Jackie. Chrissy? Okay, fantastic. Anything else now, committee reports or anything from anyone? Christine?
Just that tonight, we have the first read of an athletic policy, which reads it's similar in line to policy that we have in the district in which there is a student that's a child of a teacher, whereas the teacher does not educate their own child. This is something very similar regarding coaches and assistants with respect to coaching their own child. So that's on for the first read tonight.
Thank you, Christine. Dr. V, I will turn it over to you for some of the fun stuff.
Thank you. Well, we saw them in the hallway, and they are ready to go, and I see Cruella DeVille standing right there. So welcome to our wonderful Waverly performers to the stage, and I'll turn it over to Miss Batts, who is well in costume for this evening.
So not Cruella. Good evening, Dr. V and the Board of Education. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. It is truly a joy to stand before you with 37 of our youngest performers, our kindergarten and first graders, who are very excited to give you a small preview of their upcoming performance of 101 Dalmatian Kids on May 13th. Like the story itself, this production is full of energy, teamwork, and just a little bit of puppy mischief. These students have been working hard, learning their songs, practicing their choreography, and bringing their spotted characters to life. Tonight, they'll be performing 2 musical numbers for you in full costume, so you can experience a bit of their journey. I've had the privilege of being in this district for my entire career, and creating the program at Waverly has been one of the most meaningful parts of that journey. What makes it even more special is watching these students grow year after year. Because of the district's commitment, including the ability to design costumes for our middle and high school productions, I get to see that growth continue long after their first time on stage. From tiny Dalmatian pups to confident leading performers, it's an incredible thing to witness. This year, we are especially grateful to have Mr. Matthew Horn assisting us, as well as Layla DeVivo, a talented middle school student I've had the pleasure of working with through costuming. It is a perfect example of how our program comes full circle. Students learning, growing, and then giving back. We would also like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our PTA for their continued support and to our principal, Caitlin Mondelli, for always encouraging the arts and helping our students shine. At its heart, 101 Dalmatians is about courage, friendship, and finding your voice. And I think you'll see all of that in these students tonight. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you enjoy the show. Turn around this way.
One more photo before you go. You just look amazing. You knew all those words. That's so impressive.
All right, everybody look over here. Good job, guys.
All right, well, it's officially time to get our canines some canine crunchies for dinner tonight. I'm sure they were waiting quite some time in those costumes.
Christy. No, it's live, but it's Christy. It's already.
It'll let you, you'll be able to log in. You need an MFA though. Just click on the arrow. Yeah, there you go. And remove. Go person.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for celebrating our Waverly performers. I think that's one of the gifts of Eastchester here is that the theater performances begin so young, and that's why by the time you get to the high school and you get to the middle school, you see such high caliber on the stage. It's pretty impressive once you get up to the older grades. So congratulations to all of our Waverly performers. Next up, I invite Dr. Meyer and a number of other folks tonight to talk about some of the other wonderful arts celebrations we have this evening.
Thank you. Wow, that's a tough act to follow. And also Elias, who is really stealing everyone's thunder up here. So that was also a doubly tough act. I know he's got APs, so I appreciate him getting back, getting some rest before his next test. But yes, we're very excited to be here again. I know 2 weeks ago I was up here and we had a chance to highlight some of the work that's going on across the district. And honestly, there's so much work, it can't all be highlighted in one evening, and we wanted to make sure to touch on some of the other pieces that are so important that we've invested in, put time in, put thought, and now we're getting to see really the benefits and the rewards of that work. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the pilot program and Destination Imagination, which was so exciting and really built just from our internal capacity and what we were able to do with our own teachers and our own work and our own effort. We also saw this banner year for college admissions, and what was pretty cool is a few days ago on May 1st, throughout the high school, students were in their college sweatshirts and faculty were in their shirts, and just a real celebration of everything that's taken place over the last 4 years. But we also wanted to take a moment, and Elias had actually referenced this a little bit in his overview, his tour de force of the whole district, the work that's taken place in math, in mathematics in particular. And I referenced the significance of this 2 weeks ago when we talked about the college process and the importance of getting our students into calculus, graduating with calc and physics, and how that doesn't just start in high school, it doesn't just start in 9th grade, but we've really looked at the whole breadth of the math curriculum and how we can strengthen it, calibrate it, elevate it, so our students are really being pushed to be critical thinkers, complex thinkers, and shine on some of the biggest stages there are. And I know that there are many metrics that measure success, as we've mentioned before. Some of those can be, rates of proficiency and and scores on state exams, but there's also some of those more unconventional metrics, and I would say some of those authentic opportunities in which students can really showcase their thinking, their creativity, and their problem solving. And that's what we wanted to highlight tonight. And there are three young students in particular that I'm so excited to have come up here. But first, I'm really excited to introduce and have their assistant principal, the assistant principal of Greenvale, to speak and introduce these three young men, but also the incredible work that's taken place within the school and across the district regarding math. So it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Nikai.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm here to share some really exciting news from Greenvale. 3 of our students, through their work in the First in Math program, have qualified for the 2026 New York Statewide Mathematics Tournament Championship Finals. That's a mouthful. It's an incredible accomplishment. They won the virtual regional tournament on March 19th and are now moving on to compete in the statewide tournament in Albany on June 13th. So only 240 students across New York State qualify for this opportunity, where they'll compete for top honors and prizes. So First in Math is a game-based program, and it helps students build strong math skills. They develop confidence and a love for problem solving. It encourages them to practice their skills, to persist, and really to build a positive mindset towards learning math. So we're incredibly proud of these students. Their effort, their determination, and their enthusiasm really stand out. They represent the very best of what we hope to foster in all of our students. So please join me in inviting Yudo Fukaya, Francis Musso, and Jin Naragon up to share a little bit about their experience.
Good evening. My name is Jin. On March 19th, my class and I took part in the New York State Math Tournament through First in Math. We were really excited for the tournament and proud to showcase our math skills and hard work. In our classroom, we always do math challenge problems and play fun games like Muggins that make us think in many different ways, not just doing equations. Hello, my name is Francis. For the competition, we were shown 2 sets of numbers. We had to pick one of the sets and add, subtract, multiply, divide the numbers to equal 24. For example, if you had the numbers 8, 3, and 6, you could do 6 minus 3, which equals 3, then take the 3 and multiply by 8 to equal 24. Once you submit your answer, new number sets appear, and you have to solve as many as you can before the time is up. Our teachers, Ms. Tolmayo and Ms. Ingram, as well as our math coach, Ms. Rajani, helped us see patterns in numbers that made solving these problems even more fun. I am looking forward to working with my friends at the statewide tournament. Hello everyone. My name is Yuta. When Miss Anisi and Miss Nikai told us that we won our regional competition, we were so excited and proud. Only 3 students can go to the finals, and we are eager to represent Greenvale and Eastchester. Right now, we are busy preparing for the new math challenges we will face in Albany, and we are confident that we won't come home empty-handed. No, 3, 2, 1. Go Eagles!
Ms. Nikai and Dr. Meyer, would you mind taking a photo?
And I spy.
Oh, there she is. Perfect. And actually, Ms. Anisi, if you wouldn't mind joining the crew as well.
Great job. And I love the intensity, you know. And the second part of tonight is also something pretty exciting. So again, we go from those young scholars to some of our oldest students here in the district. And one of the things that's worth noting, and we often look at really the work that takes place within classrooms and usually the traditional core, But we also have this incredible, expansive set of experiences for our students outside of that traditional core curriculum that most people think about. I mean, just for example, we've expanded access to programs like BOCES over the last 3 years by 63% in terms of increasing seats. So if a student has a passion, we want to provide a pathway for them. And one of those pieces, and we saw it already this evening, right, is the performing arts, but also the visual arts. And we have an incredible staff and gifted faculty when it comes to the performing arts, and also some incredibly gifted students. And we had talked about, and I know that this will be mentioned more, the expansion of AP offerings, but we've also looked for ways to expand those AP offerings in the visual arts. 2 of those courses in particular will be highlighted this evening. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Gilson, our assistant principal, one of our assistant principals at the high school, to talk a little bit about that work.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. As many of you have attended or know about, we have 8th grade parent nights for rising 9th graders. And this year had the opportunity to speak with a parent who, as we know, was considering a private school versus our high school. And they mentioned how impressed they were at how many different electives we had in the art department, and they can't find that anywhere else. And it's really true. We have so many offerings, not only for students that looking to pursue a major in the arts, but any student from metals to photography to digital media. These are things you may not find in other art classes. We have the traditional AP art class, which has been here for 20 years, but Ms. S continues to modify and redesign it for students. And of course, in the last 2 years, we have AP art history, so plenty of opportunities for students. And before I turn it over, I want to mention how impressive this art department is. You don't often find art department and not only qualified teachers, but all of them are also professionals and practice outside of school in their field. Not just teachers, but I mentioned that they're in organizations or practicing artists somewhere else. So we hold our students to high expectations, and our staff hold themselves to high expectations as well. And one of those staff members is our wonderful chair, Ms. S. I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you. Tonight, you'll hear from students in AP Art and Design and AP Art History. These are college-level courses, but more importantly, they ask students to do more than just complete assignments. They're asked to think critically, make connections, and develop their own perspectives. In AP Art and Design, students create a sustained body of work through investigation and experimentation, often connecting their ideas to science, history, literature, politics, and their own experiences. In AP Art History, students examine cultures from around the world and across time, learning how to analyze and interpret art while communicating complex ideas. What's really meaningful is that the students you'll hear from aren't just learning content, they're engaging in real inquiry, problem solving, and creative thinking that carries into other classes and beyond the academic environment. At this point, I'll turn it over to our students who will briefly share their experiences and how these courses connect to their broader interests. Representing AP Art and Design are Joey Piergiovanni and Madeline Messina, followed by Anna Murray and Trina Rugova, who will speak about AP Art History. So I'm going to turn it over to Maddie.
Hi, my name is Madeline Messina, and I'd like to start by saying thank you for having me. I've had a phenomenal experience with the art department here at Eastchester High School. My goal has been always to take AP Art, and in order to do so, I have taken studio art, drawing and painting, and advanced studio art. In each, I have been exposed to many forms of media not accessible at home, such as cyanotype, screen printing, Adobe, Photoshop, and more. Right now, as an AP Art student, I use each of these mediums in order to create a thesis. My thesis explores the absurdity of time as a concept, as often time folds onto itself rather than linearly progressing. In order to articulate this idea through my art, I researched many past societies and found architecture to be the best means of communication. Very similarly to the construction of a research paper in English, I use my research to aid my thesis statement and communicate my ideas clearly. My thesis has caused me to think more creatively and express my ideas in a cohesive manner. Additionally, I have found exploring different historical concepts through the lens of architecture and art have aided my understanding of history. Overall, art has not only given me a creative outlet, but aided in my understanding of other classes, broadening my perspective of society and how people communicate. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to my talented friend, Joseph Piergiovanni.
Thank you, Maddie, for that. My name is Joseph Piergiovanni, and similarly to Maddie, I'm also an AP Studio Art student. AP Art and Design is really about developing our voices through our craft and our work, not just making art for the sake of it. Students like myself use the class to explore issues that we care about, like social or philosophical questions, and learn how to communicate these ideas more clearly through visual choices like composition, color, and symbolism. It pushes us to think more deeply about what we're creating and why that matters to us and a broader society. Art also connects strongly to other subjects because it becomes a way to understand bigger systems. When we explore different themes, we start to see how they relate to ideas like politics, economics, and culture, and how art can reflect or even challenge these systems. Specifically, in my own work, my thesis focuses on combining protest art, political messaging, and environmental ideas. By using techniques like screen printing and referencing propaganda, I'm able to both critique and reinterpret these messages while connecting ideas across different mediums and historical contexts. Overall, of all the art courses I participated in throughout my time at EHS, I found that for every student, it challenges us to think critically, creatively, and with a true purpose. Thank you. I'll pass it over to the AP Art History students.
In AP Art History, we learn how to analyze and interpret artwork from many different cultures and time periods. Instead of just looking at art and deciding whether we like it or not, we study what the artwork means and why it was created. We examine painting, sculptures, architecture, and other forms of art from ancient civilizations all the way up until modern times. Another important part of this class is that we study artistic movements and how they connect to historical events and societal values. For example, we look at how wars, revolutions, religion, and political changes influence the art that was created. Art often reflects what's happening in society at the time, so by studying it, we can gain a better understanding of history and culture.
In AP Art History, students develop strong analysis skills by examining details in art such as symbolism, composition, color, and artistic techniques. Attention to details helps students understand the message or purpose behind a work of art and how the artist communicates that idea visually. This class can work hand in hand with other subjects, especially history. Many artworks are tied to major events, cultural shifts, and the development of civilizations around the world. And when studying art from different cultures, we can compare and contrast societies and see how ideas spread and evolve over time. Overall, AP Art History allows students to strengthen analysis skills, develop an understanding of cultural differences, and open students' minds to the world of art and expression.
I mean, there's so many thoughts when you hear them speak in terms of what they represent, the culmination of the work that they've put in over the course of the year. So big round of applause for everything you guys have done. I know this is a particularly stressful time of year with AP exams and so forth, so thank you for coming this evening. But I do want to say, like, this is the aspiration, this is the reality, that all of our students can have a culminating experience of this nature, and you can see how transcendent this is across multiple disciplines. It's like, it's not a single course, it's a conceptual idea that brings together the work that you've done over 4 years and beyond. And we could not be prouder in you, and I'm sure many of you guys saw Joey last night. He was also moderating, so these skills are everywhere. But big kudos, big thank you. And I do want to echo Dr. Gilson in saying we literally have one of the most talented faculties and staffs in an art department I have ever seen. Literally, each of them could be an artist in residence in any space or place if you took them out of this school, and yet they're here at Eastchester bringing to life the dreams, the aspiration, the gifts of our young people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh yeah, you guys want to get a photo? Oh yeah, let's get it.
And I see Mr. Smith right there.
Yeah, just have to squish it over
Okay.
because I was shooting the concert over there, different way. It's not smart. All set. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You know, this library was transformed with their artwork just last week. There were no chairs, there were no tables, and just basically starting from the entrance right to the back, there were these tall displays, and even in those stacks, there were displays of art, and you can see some of the pieces that are here. But very, very impressive what our students produce here at East Chester, so it's wonderful. I don't have a huge, long presentation for you this evening, but I will just go over a couple of items that are kind of floating in the ether, and I just wanted to put some information to it, just as you stated, Mr. Finelli. Knowledge is power. Information and accurate information is really, really important, and so please email me, give me a call. I am there, and I will always provide as much information that I possibly can. And if I don't have it, I will go looking for it. A lot of folks have been asking, what have the East Chester schools done in the past 5 years? And I think 5 years being the demarcation after COVID. And so you'll see, if you were here tonight, I had some flyers at the back, just kind of a quick list of some of the things, certainly not exhaustive of everything. But we have proudly invested in a lot, and in not just programs, but also just what you see out there, policies that have come to fruition, and also just classrooms that have expanded. And so I won't read all of these things, the athletic things that we've added in. A lot has happened in the past 5 years, and the question really is what are we willing to hold on to, and what have we, what do we want to see continue to grow? Lots of questions around early voting and absentee ballots. So I just wanted to remind folks, if you go onto our website and you click that main button, the school budget, step 1 is clicking that button, and then step 2 is ultimately going into the button and clicking voter information. It will take you to a bunch of words that will say, make sure that you put your applications in by May 12th if your ballot needs to be mailed to you, and if you are looking for a hand-delivered ballot, you have until May 18th. Either way, the day of the vote, you want to make sure that everything is returned to our district clerk by 5 p.m. so that you're on time. Another question that was kind of floating around was, I don't think anything has actually been cut. What has actually been cut? So I want to remind our public, our general public, that we actually started with my initial proposal, which was a 7.35% tax levy. And to get to that 7.35% tax levy, it was already a reduction of $2.1 million right off the bat. Then we did the hard work as a Board of Education and as an administrative team to reduce that number after hearing a lot of feedback from the public. We went for an additional almost $1 million in that. And so in total, there has been a little over $3 million in reductions already. So when people ask, how much has been cut or nothing has been cut yet, there really has been quite a few reductions. And if you remember from the presentation previous, there were something upwards of 25 full-time employees whose positions are either being eliminated and or not being filled next year. A couple of things that I also want to just clarify. Some folks have said, if we vote no to a 6.31% budget, which is our current adopted budget, I think Dr. Villanueva is going to put those positions back in, because I feel really strongly that she cut out a librarian. The answer to that is actually no. If we don't get a 6.31% budget passed, then I actually have to go in and I have to cut more. So I just want to clarify very clearly that if we say no to a 6.31, it doesn't mean that I can put things back in. It means I have to take more things out. So that's a tricky one. There's also a little bit of a misnomer out there that if we vote no to a 6.31, maybe that will force me to then present to you a 2.35% tax levy to vote on, because that's the original approved tax levy. I'm going to tell you right now, if we don't pass a 6.31, I will not be presenting to the Board of Education a 2.35% budget, because that would require me to go in and find almost $4 million more in cuts. And as I've shared, that would be pretty detrimental to this school district. I would even use the words, it might dismantle our school district and all the efforts that we've put in. So please, just very clearly, I'm saying it in plain speak, if we don't pass 6.31, I will not be putting a 2.35% out there for the board to consider. Then this is a very reasonable question. How much more do you actually have to cut if we have to move to a contingency budget? And again, the goal is to not get to a contingency budget. but it would mean additional reductions of $5,273,000. That means on top of the $3 million that has already been reduced. That would mean a total of over $8 million of reductions to get to a contingency budget. I tried to put in a little bit of an equation here that says, that would equate to approximately 66 full-time employees and all of the programs in which they serve. So all of the things that they're connected to. So I would say that if we were to have to move to a contingency budget, it is a dire position to be in, and we don't want to be in that spot. Another frequently asked question that's been out there is that bond work versus actual facilities improvements. I know that in my presentations I've been sharing, look around. You can also see the investments we've made in our facility infrastructure. I just want to clarify that we do have select facilities improvements that are made with our operating budget. And then you have large projects that are much more complex, things like asbestos removal, things that have to be approved by SED because of HVAC and grants and all that kind of stuff, which just falls under the bond and special projects. We have done a lot through the facilities improvements through our operating budget. And that's because we have a highly qualified, just as we just talked about, a highly qualified art department where we have artists as teachers. We have facilities and maintenance crew folks who have specialties in electricity, in plumbing, in construction, in HVAC. And so they're able to do a lot of that internal work in district, and we capitalize on that. And so all of those types of pieces on the left here that were done with operating budget, that was the internal district putting in new playgrounds, the fencing around the playgrounds, the landscaping that's connected with it. And then, of course, our community goes together and rallies for a bond, which is larger projects, which is also very much necessary. So I just wanted to clarify those things. And you've already seen this image. I'm putting out those flyers there just to highlight the good work that has been happening in our district. And as we move forward, continuing to think about just how we build capacity, stabilize our structures, and we keep that momentum as we continue to invest. I do want to also share that our building of capacity is internal. We do have some external vendors that we rely on because there are special consultants and such, but we've already had a reduction of almost, actually more than $1 million, million something, in our vendor contracts. And it's not because we were overweighted in external vendor contracts, it's just because we were looking for areas to reduce that were away from children and classrooms. And so we have done that. And again, building that internal capacity is something we're already moving forward with. And I think we're in a good position to keep doing that. Okay, so then it moves us into our hearing, and I'll turn it over to you. Oh, yes, please.
Dr. V, could you please explain to the community what happens if we go into a contingency budget this year, if the first budget is voted down and the second budget is voted down, and we go into contingency, what that means for the budget next year?
Sure. So, it's tricky because school districts always think of their budgets in one-year time frames, but really we want to project out for the next 3 years, right? Or next 3 to 5. If we go into contingency this year, that means we're going for a 0% increase. That's even less than if we went to the allowable tax levy increase of 2.35. You saw the numbers. It's dire. Like, we're cutting a lot. We'd be going backwards. In order to recoup from a year of being in contingency, I would have to say, without having my calculator in front of me, is to say that the following year you would have to go much higher than even what I'm presenting this year in order to make up for what you kind of lost in addition to what you didn't get when you asked the first year. So I've heard of some districts that have been in contingency that have had to spike extremely high the following years. I see Ms. Dobbins shaking her head here. I won't give too much personal information out, but districts like Warwick, more north, they've been in contingency, and then they had to pierce very high in the double digits just to try to make up. And even then, it took them years to get back into where they were.
Hi, just want to talk about the budget for a little bit. In order to address rising costs and very little state aid, a lot of our surrounding districts have pierced the cap at one point or another. We have never pierced the cap. Eastchester has never pierced the cap. We are asking to do it this year. I know it's a lot to ask. Nobody wants this. But we were stagnant for so long. For so many years, parents were expressing concerns about broken playgrounds and lack of security and not enough guidance counselors, lack of phonics. And there have been so many improvements over the last several years, and we can see our students benefiting from them. We see it in their test scores, we see it in the science Olympiads, we see it in the first in math competitions, we see it in the colleges that the kids are getting into this year. But improvements cost money. And we've been hearing some chatter about wasteful spending. And when I look at the list of things that we have invested in, I think what's wasteful? Is it beginning foreign language in kindergarten rather than waiting till 7th grade? Is it increased security? Is it expanding the music department and buying new instruments and new band uniforms? Is it more support for mental health? Is it the more APs? We just heard from the students about the AP Arts. Is any of that wasteful spending? And I'm hearing a lot of we should cut, but not a lot of what we should cut. And as you mentioned, our superintendent and assistant superintendent went through the budget line by line. They cut everything they thought that we could do without. So if this budget doesn't pass, then what do we cut? Do we cut our SROs? Do we cut security? Do we cut the college prep and the essay prep? Because then we go back to a time when the parents who could afford to hire somebody to help their child with an application and a college essay will, and the parents who can't afford it, well, the kids will be out of luck. Right now, we have that opportunity for all of our students to have the best college applications and essays. And that's not a scare tactic, that's just reality if the budget doesn't pass. There will also be cuts to support services. So if your child is receiving extra math help or extra reading help, and they will no longer receive that, then parents will have to go back to paying for a private tutor. And our high school BOCES students will have to go back to capping that amount, which we used to do. Right now, every student who wants to experience BOCES gets to do it. So I just want to point that out. That's not a scare tactic. That is reality if this budget doesn't pass. Speaking for myself, I personally support this budget. And as Matt said earlier, I hope that everybody will tune into the meetings, watch the presentations, look at the slides, go to the PTA meetings, ask your questions to Dr. V. Don't rely on Facebook, and please educate yourself on the facts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Rob? No,
Great, thank you. I do want to just kind of touch on that as well. I think it's important to understand that the budget isn't driven by discretionary spending, despite what some comments have been. We don't have consultants that teach the classrooms. We don't outsource our expenses. It's driven by structural increases, right? Special education, benefits, insurance, transportation. These are all fixed obligations like debt service. It's not discretionary spending, and we have to meet these requirements. And I think what Dr. V showed is that we've already cut $3 million out of the budget. 25 FTEs have been cut, right? That's what we can cut. We've reduced supplies, professional development, delayed facility upgrades, right? In addition, that's part of that $3 million. They went line through line. I know just how much work this administrative team has done to get to this proposed budget. And so I think it's important to know that when you think about what we've built, this budget protects that. And if we're not willing to pass that budget, you're setting the district back years. So think about your child that's in 3rd grade, in 5th grade, you know, entering Waverly, and what is the experience you want them to have over their Eastchester school experience. I mean, just look at the results from today, from the presentation, the 21st. I mean, those are what the real impact of what we've seen with our investment. And if you start to cut that, this isn't a scare tactic. The reality is you set the district backwards, and that's not something that I want to sign up for. And I think it's our responsibility to protect what we've built here. So thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And just to add briefly to what Rob said, which was extremely well stated, this is not discretionary spending. And we've also heard quite a bit about transparency, and that transparency keeps getting thrown around. And I cannot state this enough. The entire line item budget is available to anyone that wants to look at it and see it. It is up on the tab on the website. This year's is there. Next year's, the proposed one, is there. And from an administrative point and a board point, we went through the budget line item by line item to very deliberately see where we could find savings without impacting the student experience. And that was done extremely deliberately. And when I say the student experience, it was designed when a lot of us got on this board to meet every student where they are, regardless of where they are in their learning experience, and to see any of that move backwards. For those of you that don't know, the tax cap was implemented in New York State in 2012, and just a little bit of research that's been done just in terms of when that started and what the impact of that has been. And Rob and I actually had a conversation about this, and he has done a tremendous amount of work in the capacity of the line item budget and doing research and looking at surrounding school districts. What I will also say is I would almost argue to say that if this budget doesn't pass, this will set us back more than a decade. As a parent in this community, it is not something that I want to sign up for. And what I will say too is, even if you do not have a child in the school district here, the sense of community, the sense of your real estate value of your home and where you live is extremely important. So I would implore everyone, please, do your research. Do not rely on Facebook as a research mechanism for factual information. Everything is laid out perfectly, beautifully, in the most transparent fashion possible. There are still upcoming conversations that Dr. B is having with the community. She takes that feedback very seriously, as do we. But I think from my perspective and what you're hearing here tonight is no one wants to move backwards. We have made a tremendous amount of strides here, keeping students at the center of that experience. So please do your research. And as a quick reminder, why did we get here? Just recently, NSBA released, the state has now extended the calculation for the 8th time. So we still don't know exactly.
It's now the 9th.
Now it's the 9th time. We still don't exactly know what we're going to be receiving, but we know from early indicators, we're starting next year $1 million less than we currently have right now. Every year, they tinker and toy with the calculation. And then you look at all of the things that Rob just laid out: inflation, contractual costs, health benefits, et cetera, and that has a compounding effect. And that's why we're here. It's not that, someone went off with some, outrageous discretionary spending on things. So again, please make sure you do your research and become well-informed before you make your decision on the budget.
Actually, Mr. Fennell, you bring up a great point, which maybe I'll just add a little bit of clarity to. So as the district knows, we did get our preliminary numbers, and we were quite behind in that state aid, the expense-based portion of that state aid. Again, good work of our business department. We have, with the increases in special education and the increases in some of the areas, we have put forth, with assumed risk, that grayed out. I don't know if you remember the slide, but there's a grayed out portion where I said adjusted reimbursements. It was just about that $2 million mark. That remains there if the budget passes. If the budget does not pass, those things go away because we will be forced to reduce those. And because that state aid is expense-based, If you don't spend the money, you don't get the reimbursement back on it. So I don't want people to think that, oh my goodness, suddenly magically we found $2 million of state aid. That is not the case. The case is that we are assuming a risk and putting forward another $2 million that we are saying that we should be getting reimbursed on because of our increases in special education. But again, if the budget does not pass, we start to reduce, that number whittles down, and can go back to zero again. And then this is a little bit of a left turn. I forgot to state this before I started. I wanted to thank all of our teachers during this Teacher Appreciation Week for all that they do. And tomorrow being, I believe it's National Nurses Day, thank you to all of our nurses for taking care of all of our faculty and staff in schools. There are many appreciation days out there, but I just wanted to state these two since they are this particular week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything? Okay, thank you. We are now up to the consent portion of our agenda tonight. Do I have a motion for consent? Christine?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the consent agenda, which includes the following: 9, approval of minutes; 10, personal agenda; 11, committee on preschool special education recommendations; 12, pupil personnel recommendations; 13, educational and curriculum and instruction; and 14, business office recommendations.
Thank you, Christine. Do I have a second? Lori, all in favor? Thank you. We are now up to future meeting dates. 2 weeks from tonight, May 19th, will be our annual school budget vote and our trustee election, and then that will be followed by a work session meeting on June 2nd. We are now up to comments from the public. When you come up, please state your name and address, and just please be mindful that each person has 3 minutes, and please refrain from mentioning any specific individual by name. Michelle, we're gonna have to adjust that slightly.
Hi, everybody. Michelle Ferzaglia, 115 Park Avenue. I've been an educator since 1996 in 3 different districts. So this is my 30th budget cycle, which I shared with Dr. V the other night at our meeting. 15 years ago, I stood right here when my kindergartner had 28 students in her class at Waverly. To put it mildly, I lost my cotton pick in mind. I made it clear that 28 students per class was not acceptable. And to everyone's credit, it was rectified the following year. But you did have 28 students that first year. All of us have the same priority, our children's success and happiness. The talented 2026 graduates were nurtured from Waverly through high school. I will give you my perspective as a parent of college and high school children and as an educator of elementary students. And here's the hard truth you mentioned tonight. 75 to 80% of all school budgets are personnel. People are what make the Eastchester District shine, and they are also the most costly budgetary item. This community demanded a lower tax rate, and Dr. V listened. Under the old budget, a house assessed at approximately $900,000 had an increased tax levy of $84 per month. The cost of the budget on the table now to the same home is $72 a month. So it's a $12 reduction per month. But to get there, sacrifices were made. Elementary schools cut math coaches, 2 library positions were cut, middle school cut technology and health positions, high school cut 2 department positions, and there were more cuts, but those are some of the most painful. So what does this budget look like if this one fails? If we go down 2% more, that equates to approximately 20 more cuts to teachers and programs. How much do we carve out of our children's education? Do we cut more personnel so that kindergarten classes rise to 28 students without monitors? Do our AP sections get cut and now there are 30 students per class? Do we reduce APs we offer, making us less competitive with neighboring districts? Which children are going to bear the burden of our choices as a community? Parents come to this podium and talk about rankings. Rankings don't go up with higher class sizes and less resources. What are the other probable cuts? Freeze to clubs, theater, Olympiads, reduction to sports. Our teens need programs to be well-rounded for social, emotional well-being, and it's what every other student in Westchester is putting on their college their college applications. These are painful decisions that have to be made if we don't have the money to run our schools. Is $72 a month worth it? There are monetary values to these programs. The high school offers free SAT prep and college essay writing. in the summer. Private tutors cost thousands of dollars. Is $72 worth it? Clubs, theater, athletics, DI, or after-school activities offered free of charge. Buses have monitors. Our campuses have SROs. Schools provide resources. Is $72 worth it? There's a correlation to health of schools and our property value. Is $72 worth it? I have 2 more years left in this district, but this is a critical moment for our students' future. Are we going to come together as a community and support our children in schools? If this budget fails, I assure you from my experience that the second budget will be more painful. I don't ever want to see class size rise to 28 students again. If we don't bust the cap this year, we're kicking the problem down the road. We will be in a worse budget cycle next year with less of a base to add to the formula. As you think about your vote, ask yourself, are we going to stay competitive with other districts? And what do we want our children's educational experience to look like in the 26-27 school year? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else this evening for public comment, please?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mike Harbut, and I live at 28 Tudor Lane.
Now we need to raise it for you, I think.
Thanks. I play drums. And stuff. Thank you very much for such a wonderful evening and a great presentation. I wanted to make folks aware that I'm a somewhat recent transplant in 2019, and many of the folks that I know in the kindergarten class that my son is in also came around the same time, and we're not familiar with your process, and we're not familiar with the debate. And it wasn't until my wife dropped the budget into one of the LLMs that she identified some of the cuts. The other folks that I know who sort of fall into my cohort are also very busy, and I think you may have an awareness problem among us. We're just not aware, and I think that may impact turnout. I have talked to half a dozen or a dozen other parents who just aren't aware of anything that you've discussed tonight, and I wouldn't be aware of it either if it weren't for the AI summary that was provided after we grabbed the budget off the state's website. I make this point just simply to say, I think there are a lot of folks who don't know, and I think it would be helpful. I don't know how you do it. I've never done it. But I don't know how you convey that to possibly a large group of voters who will be very frustrated otherwise because we moved here for the metrics, and the metrics look good at the time. And I'm not price sensitive. I don't care what the taxes are. I'll pay them. And I think that these other folks would feel the same way, but they and I, we're just not aware. So I thought to convey that. Thank you.
No, thank you. Anyone else this evening for public comment? I will just say before I make a motion to adjourn, you bring up an extremely valid point, and I think this year very specifically with Dr. Villanueva, we're trying different methods of outreach to engage the community, from the organization on the website to some of the community forums that she's been holding with these meetings be recorded. There is also a budget mailer that's going to go out with some more information that will go to everyone's home. But I would also say to anyone here in the audience or watching at home is, please, again, do your research, engage. The information is there. And for those folks that are watching and digging in, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell the folks in the community to dig in, because I see exactly what you're saying. And that's why relying on Facebook, which kind of puts its tentacles out with information that just isn't true, and then people are absorbing that and thinking that's what it is. I think we're going to continue to attempt in the next 2 weeks to do as much outreach as possible. Thank you. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn this evening? Rob, second. Jill, all in favor? Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of the evening.